Philly steak, tantalizing turkey, bacon, avocado, and an array of mouth-watering options like crispy chicken and fish. Pair it perfectly with freshly fried fries or golden onion rings. Unforgettable sandwiches. That's Maverick's Real Roast Beef in Roseville.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome to The Gailey Show, the only daily LGBTQ news and talk show on the radio in the United States. I'm your host, John Parker. We're also streaming on our YouTube channel right now, and if you like what we're doing, please click that subscribe button and let us know how you are enjoying the show. All right, what is on the program today? In the second half hour, White House correspondent for the Washington Blade, Joe Reberkenny, is back. He joins us bi-weekly on Wednesdays to share his reporting from inside the White House, inside the Supreme Court, and inside Congress. But up first, our updates on Operation Metro Surge. So earlier today, border czar Tom Homan announced that 700 ICE and Customs and Border Patrol agents will be leaving Minnesota effective immediately. Now, it is really interesting. We're going to have to unpack a lot of this here because he kept using the word unprecedented. Unprecedented. There's unprecedented cooperation with local law enforcement to identify undocumented people who have committed crimes and finding them in local jails and prisons. So he says that this is now the safest thing to do. They're doing targeted arrests. And because of this unprecedented cooperation with local law enforcement, with the local sheriff's offices, that they are able to have agents off of the street and where it's safest, his words, in the jails and prisons to arrest and detain undocumented people there who have criminal records, allegedly. So didn't provide, though, because there was a press conference, it must have been 3 weeks ago, of sheriffs in the Twin Cities who said that they already do cooperate with DHS around the detention and of undocumented people who have a criminal record, who have been convicted of a crime. So it is, and they actually even gave the chief of, I believe it was Brooklyn Police Department. I'll have to go back and look at the video on this. One of them, I think it was Sheriff Bruley, was talking about how they actually reached out to DHS about someone they knew was undocumented, that they knew they had to release. And they said, hey, this guy has been convicted. This is someone that you should be looking into. Come and get him. And nobody from DHS responded. And so they had to release that individual. So I think it's, I am confused about what is this unprecedented cooperation? What will it look like? Homan didn't give any details today. So is it going to be a memorandum of understanding? Is it going to be a BOA? Like, how are they? What is this unprecedented cooperation? What does it look like right now? Didn't provide any numbers about how many people they've been detaining out of this unprecedented cooperation, but is citing it as the justification for why 700 agents will be leaving effective today. It is a mixture of ICE and Customs and Border Patrol agents. If we take the number that he did cite, which is 300 agents who left after Bovino left last week, then essentially we're looking at 1,000 agents who have left under the first week of border czar Tom Homan being in control here in the Twin Cities of the Operation Metro Surge. He also said that there used to be 2 command structures. He has unified the 2 command structures into a single command structure, and kept saying over and over and over again in his press conference today that they're doing targeted detentions. They're going out looking for specific people now. They're just not driving around trying to randomly arrest people and profile people. That remains to be seen if there is going to be that tactical change. Jim, do you have your hand raised?
Yeah, well, because I'm not in the room, nobody
Oh.
can see me. I'm curious. I think you're raising the right question, which is there's nothing that comes out of this organization's mouth that you can trust because of all the abuse that's come before it. And the fact that how did they ever have a strategy of we're just going to drive around and ask people if they know where there are any Asians.
Well,
that was their strategy. It's unbelievably
and that is for folks who are
amateurish.
listening, that is
That's a
or
quote.
watching, that is something that did happen.
Yeah.
They got into a building, ICE agents. They were knocking on doors and asking literally, quote, where are the Asians
Right.
at? Do you know where they live?
So when we
that's not us just making up something. That is a literal thing that happened here in the Twin Cities because they were given guidance around quotas. They had a specific number of people that they were supposed to be bringing in on a daily basis. They were also just grabbing people. We had a representative, Sandra Feist, on last week who said she had a client who had a green card. The agent said that green card is fake, hauled him down to the Whipple building where ICE is headquartered here in Minneapolis, and then got berated by the folks there by saying, why didn't you show this green card to the agents?
It's a level of dysfunctional stupidity so that when those of us that have criticized them as being unprofessional, and Holman would take great exception, all these agents that are doing their duty, they're people that have been in these detention centers say it is a chaotic nightmare. Now, this next story I would love you to tell, because it's of a similar vein, was the lady in court. We're
going to get to that. We're going to get to that.
All right.
Because she just lost her job.
Because there's a consistency
Let's
incompetence.
Stay on Homan.
Well, for Holman, his job is to stand up there and look like, oh, we're not a bunch of clowns, we're not a bunch of idiots, we're not a bunch of marauders, but that's what they've been for 9 weeks. Is it, like you say, is it going to change? It had better. Warning, it had better, but it has been a joke up until this point, a deadly joke.
New reporting from an interview with NBC News, according to an interview with, not according to them, an interview with Trump that says that he made the decision to have the 700 agents leave Minneapolis. So they've taken the military and told them you're no longer on alert to go into Minneapolis. Now 1,000 agents have been taken away. But I think that the coalition of groups that have been sort of the main folks who have been saying, hey, they've been the organizers. They've been the ones that have getting tens of thousands of people, 50, 75,000 people out into the streets of, protests in Minneapolis and have been creating the community support networks and have been legal observers. We're talking about Faith in Minnesota, the Minneapolis Regional Labor Federation, MNAFL-CIO, SEIU Local 26, SEIU Minnesota State Council, Unidos Minnesota, United Renters for Justice, and the Centro de Trabajadores Unidos en la Lucha. They put out a statement that said that this is essentially a stunt. So they said today's announcement is simply a political stunt as debate rages about funding and accountability for DHS. There are still thousands of masked, unaccountable agents terrorizing our communities, attacking peaceful observers, and undermining Minnesotans' constitutional and civil rights. Throughout this surge, they put that in quotation marks, Minnesotans across the state have made our demands as clear as possible. ICE needs to leave our state. That was a reading from a statement from a coalition of groups. There might have been the organizers to stop ICE and to get ICE out of here. I also want to say that it was very offensive.
Very offensive.
Watching this press conference today, because he talked about how compassionate ICE agents are. He said that they were patriots.
Nope.
He said last year, he said, if there keeps being this anti-ICE rhetoric, people are going to die. Well, interestingly, the people who died were killed by the ICE agents, and he did not bring up the murder of Renee Nicole Good,
Right.
the murder of Alex Preddy,
Right.
and also the behavior of, I mean, we can't get into this today because I need to sit down and look at all of the information here, because it is wild how much DHS lied about the shooting in North Minneapolis when they mistakenly went after the wrong person.
Right.
And then they said they were attacked by, snow shovels and they had to shoot to defend themselves. Folks, that was a complete lie.
Right.
The story is coming out here. Like, the person was actually apparently shot in their home, that the agent fired into a home. Right. And so Homan this morning in the press conference was talking about, people will be held up to the highest standards. Didn't talk about what those standards are going to be, because they're not prosecuting. They're charging themselves of being in charge of investigating themselves,
Right.
which is not going to happen. But I do want to say that what he said this morning was that they're not going to do a drawdown until all of the protests stop.
Yeah.
And he wants all of the officials in the state of Minnesota to call for the end of the resistance and the protest to ICE, to stop impeding, to stop observing, to stop being in the streets,
Right.
to stop having the economic boycotts. Like, he is basically saying he does not want. I mean, yesterday we had blockades, right? So they were blockading streets to stop ICE vehicles from moving into particular areas or moving away from particular areas. And he's like, until all of that stops, we will continue to be here. Well, guess what? It's not going to stop, because the people who are inflicting the violence and the terror are not the people who are protesting this. It is ICE. It is DHS who is bringing this violence into our communities.
I want to back up a little bit to begin with, to have the bribe-taking Tom Homan.
Oh, I know.
To have somebody who has committed a crime.
I know. Did somebody give him $50,000 in a bag to get these 1,000 agents out of here? I mean, is that actually what happened? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Trump is the one that made the call.
But that's been the MO of this entire administration. People with
Bribery?
people with criminal backgrounds, people on the shady side of anything that they touch, then sanctimoniously telling us how we're not showing respect, how we're not being law-abiding. That is the grossest. And to put on top of that a sense of threat, which was in his voice, made me so angry. I'm actually angrier because of Tom Homan now.
Okay, I've got to fit in a break
here.
I'm giving you the signal that we got to wrap up.
I'm
You're ignoring me. But we have got to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about the lawyer who told a judge yesterday in Minnesota that her job sucks and how ICE is doing the legal stuff sucks. She got removed from her job today.
Yep.
We're also going to talk about a lawsuit that Duluth Public Schools, Fridley, and the Teachers Union, Education Minnesota, filed against DHS today. Stay tuned. You're listening to The Gailey Show.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
Cafe Latte offers made-from-scratch soups, salads, sandwiches, and mouth-watering desserts.
So come check out their pizza and wine bar, or get a treat from the bakery made fresh daily. Plus, you can still do online ordering and takeout, along with gift cards. Just go to cafelatte.com and choose from their ever-changing selection of award-winning salads, sandwiches, and soups. Cafe Latte is located off Victoria and Grand and online at cafelatte.com.
Celebrate Valentine's with the perfect musical. The Chameleon Theater Circle is proud to present I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change. Bright, sexy, witty, and fun, this show will appeal to anyone who has ever fallen into the deep end of love and come up gasping for air. Shows run 3 weekends starting February 13th at Inver Hills Community College. Just Google Chameleon Theater to see times and reserve tickets. I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change with the Chameleon Theater Circle. Get your tickets now.
Oh, this is Robert Pilot. For Native relatives, healing is more than just sobriety. It's reclaiming Indigenous masculinity as a sacred, balanced force. Join Hunter Thundercloud for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. We explore how personal recovery uplifts our communities. It's time men step back into roles as mentors and spiritual leaders. Recovery is collective, and it starts with us. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of every month at 6 p.m. for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. Let's tend the fire together.
At Schroman Law, we provide more than just legal documents. We walk alongside our clients to ensure their wishes and legacies are being honored with every choice. And we do this while recognizing that this process can be emotional and weighty. Our team includes attorneys, as well as a grief coach and a published writer ready to assist with legacy letters and extra wishes to go alongside your healthcare directive. Contact us today to learn more at schromanlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Welcome back to The Gailey Show. I am John Parker. We are coming up on the bottom of the hour when White House correspondent for the Washington Blade, Joe Reberkenny, will be back with his newest reporting from inside Congress and interesting things that are going to be happening that he's reporting on for the 2026 election in November. So stay tuned for that. We are talking about latest updates in Operation Metro Surge. Yesterday, this is a fascinating story. So a Minnesota judge, U.S. District Judge Jerry Blackwell hauled in the attorneys from ICE and said, "What are you doing? You are ignoring my orders." And government attorney Julie Lee was there and basically
I love Julie.
said that she wished that Judge Blackwell would hold her in contempt of court so that she can, quote, have a full 24 hours of sleep and that her job sucks.
If that doesn't, the thing that I keep seeing is the sense of chaos that works for a warped mind like Donald Trump's. It doesn't work for most of us. Working in chaos and constant disaster is what he's putting these people through, and they are miserable. I'm sure some of the ICE agents.
I want to read more. So what she said in the transcript yesterday, what do you want me to, this is a quote to the judge from Lee. "What do you want me to do? The system sucks. This job sucks. And I'm trying every breath that I have so that I can get you what you need." So there have been dozens and dozens of lawsuits filed against DHS on behalf of people who have been wrongly detained. This was part of the reason why Judge Blackwell was like, "Why are you still keeping these people in detention when I have told you and other judges have told you to release them?"
Yep.
This attorney, Julie Lee, she was given 88 cases in less than a month, according to online court records that the AP reviewed. Several prosecutors, I think almost a dozen prosecutors now have left the U.S. Attorney's Office in frustration. Some have resigned in protest of the direction that they were given from Attorney General Bondi and Assistant Attorney General Todd Blanche.
Both lunatics.
But, Judge Blackwell is like, this is an excuse, the volume of cases, for why you're disregarding court orders. And now she has been removed from her post.
Yeah. Can you imagine, if you think about it, throughout the federal government, in chaos, unprofessional, unqualified people trying to run this country? You can see it. You can see the panic. You can see the cluelessness. You can see the hopelessness. I'm surprised more people haven't quit, or maybe they haven't. We simply don't know about it. So the Titanic has struck the iceberg and is taking on water. And I feel bad. I actually feel bad for Julie, who was telling the internal truth outside. This is impossible. You cannot function like this.
This is
unprofessionally like this.
More that she was saying in court yesterday. That she had been working for DHS as an ICE attorney in immigration court before she, quote, as she puts it, stupidly, end quote, volunteered to work the detail in Minnesota. She said that she wasn't properly, to your point, Jim, she says that she wasn't properly trained for the assignment.
Oh.
And then she said she wanted to resign from the job, but they couldn't get a replacement for her to do it. She said to the judge, fixing a system, a broken system, I don't have a magic button to do it. I don't have the power or the voice to do it. According to AP reporting, Kira Kelly, who is an attorney representing just two of the petitioners at the hearing yesterday, said that the flood of immigration petitions is necessary because, quote, so many people being detained without any semblance of a lawful basis.
In inhumane conditions.
She said, and there's no indication here that any new systems or bolded emails or any instructions to ICE are going to fix any of this.
No, it won't.
That was Kira Kelly, an attorney representing two petitions. So that just shows you there is the chaos that they're creating on the streets.
Right.
Then there's the chaos they are creating in the courts. And they are just, even when they can also release somebody, they're not doing that, which the judges are trying to hold them accountable on that front as well.
So let's go back and think of this made up number of people that they had to remove. They clearly had no intention of understanding how they were going to house all these people, transport all these people, do anything humanely with all of these people.
What's happening inside the detention centers are
it's ungodly.
Humanitarian crisis,
right? And
they're doing it on
a huge scale,
giving people
to people. I'm sorry, to people that are innocent, to people that haven't. They just aren't letting them go. It's a humanitarian crisis. I'm sorry, you have examples?
Yeah, they're not providing people with medication and treatment that they need. And I think the reason why, one of the reasons why Homan's press conference this morning was so egregious and so offensive was that yesterday, when you listen to the testimony of people who had been shot multiple times by ICE agents.
Right.
In Chicago, Miramar Martinez, I believe, quote me on that, fact check me on that name. She had been shot 7 times, and investigators found texts of the agents who did it bragging to other agents.
Those professional law enforcement
how they
professionals that Tom Homan
shot her.
Looked down at us
when you get the information, the testimony from a woman who has a brain injury just trying to get to her doctor, and she was violently ripped out of her car.
Right.
You should have seen the look on Senator Amy Klobuchar's face yesterday. If you can find that, as they were showing part of it on MS Now last night, and the look on her face is just disgust and horror at what she is hearing right now. And she used to be the Hennepin County attorney. And so you know how she's someone who could prosecute this.
Right.
And the look on her face is just, I was like, oh, this is, it is bad.
And later in the hearing, she wasn't even there. I mean, I think at some point she just couldn't abide how horrific.
I want to briefly, we're coming up on the end of our time here. I did want to note that 2 Minnesota school districts, so Fridley and Duluth Public Schools, along with the teachers union here in Minnesota, the Education Minnesota, they have filed a lawsuit against DHS. They filed that Wednesday morning, so this morning. They're alleging that DHS violated the Administrative Procedures Act when they repealed a policy that's called the Protected Areas Policy. Now, the Protected Areas Policy was instituted in 1993, and it forbids ICE, Customs, Border Patrol, basically DHS, from conducting any immigration enforcement within certain zones. One of those zones being schools. Well, they said when the Trump administration just rescinded that last year, they didn't follow the Administrative Procedures Act, which allows for, they didn't follow the proper procedure and get feedback and talk about how this is all going to go down. They got rid of it and then created chaos, particularly at Minnesota schools. So Duluth and Fridley have filed a lawsuit along with Education Minnesota. That is going to be a big deal when ICE takes this violence on their road tour, which we'll see what that looks like moving forward. But you are listening to The Gailey Show. We're going to have White House correspondent for the Washington Blade, Joe Reberkenny, when we come back.
Hey, Minnesota, it's Brad Friedman, host of the...
The devil. Hey, Joe Reberkenny.
Hi, how are you guys?
We're on a hot mic. We are still on YouTube. It's good to see you. Oh, you're looking very dapper
Yes,
today.
very dapper.
Thank you.
Right.
I decided to come into the office today because I just got over food poisoning, and if I didn't get physically out of my apartment, I was never going to leave. So dolled myself up and said, let's take a little walk, and ended up in the office.
I haven't seen Joe for 6 months. Where is
All
he?
right. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better. Hope you're feeling better.
Thank you. I am. Yes. Solid food again. Yay.
Oh my God.
It's been a lot of soup and a lot of Gatorade. So we're doing better. We're doing better.
Good. Gotta stay hydrated, right?
Don't go back to that restaurant.
Seriously.
It was milk. It was milk that I did not notice was past expired. So it was my fault. It was all me. Sure.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We won't do that again.
Yikes.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll start. I texted you the order of stories. Thank you for being cool with that. And then we will 2 minutes before we come back.
Goodness.
All right, we'll switch over to the regular feed.
$10 off your air duct cleaning. Call my friends at Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. A 4.9 rating on Google reviews and over 21,000 satisfied customers can't be wrong. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
Hey, Francois, have you made any New Year's resolutions?
No.
Well, mine is to learn some French. Can you help me?
Bien sûr.
How do you say this? Can I buy you?
Est-ce que je peux t'acheter
Macaroons from Nicolette's.
des macarons de Nicolette's?
Now, say it all at once.
Est-ce que je peux t'acheter des macarons de Nicolette's?
Oh, absolutely. I'll have a box of raspberry rose, blueberry cheesecake, and chocolate.
Mais c'est quoi ça?
Thank you, Francois. You can order them online at nicoletsmacaroons.com or visit their store in Plymouth. Merci.
Get ready to zoom into a world full of color, música, and alegría at Children's Theater Company. Go Da Go, Ve Pero Ve is a bilingual musical bursting with playful, high-speed energy as dogs drive, swim, and race to the big dog party. This joyful espectáculo blends English y Espanol with expressive physical storytelling. Go Da Go is sure to have you laughing, moving, and howling with delight. On stage January 20th through February 22nd. Tickets at childrenstheater.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies today with a high near 25, tonight cloudy with a low around 20, and Thursday partly sunny with a high near 38. Go Dog Go or Ve Pero Ve opens this week at Children's Theater Company. Get tickets today for this joyful bilingual musical where delightful dogs drive, swim, play baseball, and race to the big dog party. Get tickets today at childrenstheater.org. That's childrenstheater.org.
This is AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Coming to you from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome back to The Gailey Show. It is 33 minutes after the hour. I'm John Parker in studio with my executive producer, Jim Pounds, also live streaming on our YouTube channel. And if you like what we're doing there, please subscribe. Leave us a comment about how you are enjoying the show. Since 1969, the Washington Blade has been the nation's independent source for fearless reporting, earning the paper the moniker, the newspaper of record for the LGBTQ plus community. You can read their award-winning journalism at more than 100 locations throughout the DC region and online at WashingtonBlade.com. Joe Reberkenny is the White House correspondent for the Washington Blade. He is a graduate of American University, where he studied broadcast journalism and political science with a focus on gender, race, and politics. He covers LGBTQ issues and political news with a particular passion for exploring queer history in the nation's capital. He joins us bi-weekly on Wednesdays to share his excellent reporting from inside the Supreme Court and inside the White House and inside the halls of Congress. So, Joe, we're very grateful to have you back and see you again.
Thank you so much for letting me come back. I love joining y'all. I have a great time every time.
And today, you actually can hear Joe and myself on a new episode of This News is So Gay, hosted by the editor-in-chief of the Buckeye Flame, Ken Schneck. Have you had a chance to listen to it?
I have, yes, and I've already sent the link to everybody I could think of, posted it on my Instagram, both personal and work. I've been doing major PR for that episode. I had such a great time, and we had such a great discussion. I want everybody to hear it.
You were all great, and it was a really good discussion.
Good, because I haven't listened to it yet.
Oh,
I've been running around all day today. It's been chaos with Homan and the lawsuits, and so I'm going to listen to it on the drive home tonight. But I'm glad to hear that. Ken is fantastic, and they need to have you back on there. I'm telling Ken right now, live on the radio, you need to have Joe back on there because the reporting you are doing is fantastic. Yeah. And let's get right into it because everybody in Minnesota is looking for accountability right now. And one of those measures of accountability is going to be November, the elections, the midterms. And you've got new reporting about where the LGBTQ Victory Fund is looking to place their efforts and their cash this November. So what have you got for us on that front?
Yeah. Thank you. So I was able to talk to Daniel Hernandez Jr., who I don't know if you all remember, he was with Gabby Giffords back in 2011. He was one of the people who was actually credited with saving her life back in Arizona when she was shot. And he, that motivated him to get involved into politics. He was an intern then and has just since been, mostly working in Arizona, but has since, worked with had gotten a role with the LGBTQ Victory Fund and is now a part of the whole structure and helps get LGBTQ people elected and gets representation out. And I got to interview him last week, and we had a fantastic discussion about, where LGBTQ people and, their allies, people who care about LGBTQ rights should be looking. And it was really fantastic. The overarching message was, focus on the state and local. Everybody loves to talk about, the federal government and how, the big offices we see, that's what makes the headlines. But those are not where the most of the decisions are being made. They're mostly being made school boards, local governments, municipal offices. Those are where real change is going to happen. And, you start there. That's how we build a good, foundation to eventually change everything going up until we have a fully supportive LGBTQ government.
Well, and so much of what the Trump administration is doing was experimented with in Florida and their legislature and in Texas, right? And so I think that's really interesting that they're saying, no, we got to start focusing, really zeroing in on the state legislatures. In your conversation, did he say if there are particular states that they are really looking at right now? Like, are there any toss-up states that they're looking at? Are there any like trifectas that they're trying to create?
Yeah, he gave me a full list of both previously endorsed and continually endorsed for the month of January, and it's only about 40 people so far, but they're adding as we speak. They're collecting. There wasn't any specific races that we talked about one-on-one. I wanted to keep the conversation a little bit more general. If you wanted to look a little bit more specific about each race, they do fantastic data coverage and information about each candidate running and why they decided to endorse them on their website, the LGBTQ Victory Fund's website. Fantastic resource. We just more talked about just in general, where are people's heads at? Where should they be looking when, just approaching it bold-faced? Like, I don't know who to support. This person says they're a part of the LGBTQ community or they support it, but how do we know that they actually will intend to do it if getting elected into office? So that's pretty much what we took a more grand approach to it rather than specific office running.
Right. So. There was one part in there, your article that I really liked where you're talking about the gay agenda and how it's not bathrooms, it's access to healthcare. And that really stood out to me because we're accused, even here on the Gailey Show, of only being focused on very specific things. And I'm like, we talk about healthcare all the time on the show. We talk about, the economy all the time on the show. Like, we are not just about pronouns here. And so I'd love to hear more about that in your conversation where you were talking about that broader agenda that, yes, queer people have healthcare. Yes, they drive on roads. Yes, we have opinions about that. It's not either or.
Yeah. No, we talked about a lot of things, but voters quite simply care about healthcare, affordability, roads, and jobs. Those are like the big things they care about. They want to, feel that they're supporting a candidate who, at the end of the day, is going to support them through their actions, through their voting, and through the money that they are able to, disperse through the government. Not necessarily through these culture war fear tactics that specifically the right and the Trump-Vance administration is really utilizing, at least on a federal level. So it's a shift from what we've been seeing a lot from the right, I guess, essentially is really what they're emphasizing.
I'm curious.
And they also, yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, do they have data about, I'm assuming LGBT people vote in high percentages, that we don't have apathy in our community, but I don't know that to be true. I've never seen any data that says what percent of, is there? What percent of eligible LGBT people actually vote?
It's a really high percentage.
It is high? Okay.
Yeah.
You would think that it would be, that we'd be better informed voters and more, that we'd show up for local elections and everything, because our lives are so dependent on it. But do they ever talk about that, or do we just sort of assume that it's good?
I'm going to be totally honest. I didn't pull any specific numbers for this story. That's something else entirely. I remember I studied journalism and political science at American University, and the thing that I really wanted to focus on was the gay electorate group. But 3-4 years ago, that wasn't a voting block, at least that people were polling and getting enough data on to become something that was like a significant enough group. But I feel, especially with this data that the LGBTQ Victory Fund has now, and as we're seeing these issues become more and more nationalized and make headlines for everybody, I this is just me speculating, but I foresee the LGBTQ voting group to be not only one that is responsive to ads and campaigns, but also is out there voting in pretty good numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
This
I
is
also want. Yeah.
Go for it. No, go.
I just another thing that we talked about that I really loved that Daniel mentioned was to take a step away from rage giving, which is what a lot of people, specifically who are feeling super hot and red about things going on right now, will immediately find the opposite of the thing that they that they're seeing that they really hate, and will give money or resources to a person who is anti-Trump, for example. But that's not always necessarily the most beneficial for longevity. Doing your research, finding out who really is supporting what you want rather than not supporting who you don't want is the better way to go. We discussed it's really just looking into it, making sure your money is going to who you really want to be in that power, rather than moving in the opposite direction as a flagrant response.
Right.
I think that's
a good point.
That is a good point to make, because I think there are some candidates right now that are benefiting from, they're the anti-Trump candidate, but they're not necessarily the most pro-LGBTQ candidate. But speaking of LGBTQ candidates, this is going to be a watershed year of the number of LGBTQ candidates and trans candidates who are running. Did you talk about that at all?
Yeah, we talked about how there's just so many LGBTQ people running for office right now, and there are numbers in the story specifically, and it's going to be a big year for people who care about LGBTQ policy and LGBTQ people, and people who are willing to stand up for it against an administration that has been very adamant about restricting the rights and the even cultural allowance of them being a part of American culture and politics.
Right. We are talking with White House correspondent Joe Reberkenny, who joins us bi-weekly on Wednesdays, White House correspondent for the Washington Blade. Another story from DC that you are covering is around the new Equality Caucus vice chair endorsing the Equality Act and a federal trans bill of rights. That's the headline. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so I got to sit down and talk with Representative Adriana Salinas. She's from Oregon. She's fantastic. We had a great 30-minute conversation. She's had an extensive history working for Democratic politics, both in Oregon and federally. She's been in the House of Representatives since 2015, I believe. She's been there for a minute, and she's been working in some form or fashion to protect LGBTQ rights for a minute, but she was formally asked by the caucus to join as a vice chair, and she very positively accepted and was super sweet. And I just had a great conversation with her about why LGBTQ issues are everybody's issues, and it was really, really a fantastic conversation. Yeah.
And she has as I was reading through your article, she does have a personal stake in this.
Yes, her daughter identifies as a lesbian, and she was very clear that her daughter has pushed her to think about LGBTQ politics in a different way. We as queer people, it's easy to see how it's like these things are everything to us as queer people. Of course, one vote can impact an entire group of people, but having somebody so close who is a part of the community when you are not is really a fantastic thing. And she has championed LGBTQ rights for a long time, specifically, as you mentioned, the Equality Act. And she even mentioned a federal transgender bill of rights, which I've not heard from a whole lot of representatives to specifically say that that's something we need enshrined in the Constitution. That is it leaps and bounds above what a lot of these Democratic lawmakers who say that they support LGBTQ rights are actually endorsing and pushing forward.
Right.
Can you remind folks what's in the Equality Act?
Yeah, so the Equality Act is essentially just federal.
10 minutes since we talked about it.
Yeah. It's just kind of it's been around since 1977. At least the idea of it has been a minute since it's the thoughts have been around. It's federal protections for sexual orientation and gender identity. So you can't be discriminated against for your job, for mostly just the federal protections that already exist. A lot of which it's building on the Civil Rights Act of 1967, essentially, but specifically for those who are not straight and who may not identify with the same gender identity as they everybody else does, or as they were born with, essentially. Yeah.
And that legislation, if it were ever to be passed, would trump any state legislation that that the states, particularly the Confederacy, shall we say, have passed that are negative, right, for queer folks.
Yeah, it would be the supremacy clause, federal government being higher than regardless of what state laws have passed. It would set the bar as you got to respect all people of all sexual orientations, all gender identity. Although even with the Civil Rights Act, which is technically supposed to be have supremacy over a lot of these state claims, they're finding some loopholes and they're finding some ways to maneuver a little sneakily around that. But it would hopefully get a little bit more protection for LGBTQ people.
That's the court. That's our Chief Justice John Roberts, who absolutely hates the Civil Rights Act with a burning, fiery passion. But that is a conversation for another day. I've got to fit in a quick break here. We're going to have more with Joe Reberkenny, White House correspondent for the Washington Blade. When we come back, you are listening to The Gailey Show on AM 950 Radio, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts still matter.
I am the amazing Cassandra, a mechanical fortune teller who can predict the exact date and time of your passing. But 5 teenagers have died, and I alone have the power to save them if they can pass my test of song. Their musical trials begin January 16th at Lyric Arts Theater in Anoka. Ride the cyclone along with them at lyricarts.org.
Hi, I'm Jay from Greenhouse Salon and Shop. If your current salon experience feels rushed or impersonal, come feel the difference at Greenhouse. Our artists create personalized styles in a warm, inclusive space, and our shop is full of unique gifts from local women makers. See some of what's in store and book your appointment online at greenhousebrynmar.com. Better yet, Stop by 403 Cedar Lake Road South in the quaint Bryn Mawr neighborhood of Minneapolis. Greenhouse, where every client feels cared for.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. To avoid gimmicks, call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067, or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
This Valentine's Day, give the gift of reading at Next Chapter Booksellers. Whether you're trying to survive Trump administration 2 or seeking something cozy, they've got you covered. Their newest nonfiction table offers books to channel anxiety into action. While for something lighter, check out their Japanese and Korean healing fiction, or explore their upsetting shelf of surreal, strange novels. Next Chapter Booksellers can help you find the perfect gift for Valentine's Day, whether to inspire, comfort, or escape. Located off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul, more at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been telling you about my friends at Snap Construction, who are arguably the most well-reviewed exterior construction company in the metro. Don't just take my word for it. Take a look at all their reviews online. Winter is the most cost-effective time of the year to complete your construction project. A majority of Minnesotans choose to have their work completed on their home in the summer when they should be enjoying the weather. As a result, the demand for labor in the summer is much higher. The most cost-effective way to improve or restore your home is in the winter due to the lower demand. Right now, Snap Construction is offering an additional 30% off of labor to the AM 950 listeners on your next construction project between now and the end of February. Call 612-333-SNAP and mention AM 950 for an additional 30% off. As always, Snap Construction stands by their work with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. Don't wait to get a free estimate by calling 612-333-SNAP or find them online at snapconstruction.com. Financing options available.
Perfect music choice coming up on the top of the hour here on the Gailey Show. I'm John Parker in studio with my executive producer, Jim Pounds. Bi-weekly on Wednesdays, we are so lucky to have Joe Reberkenny, who is the White House correspondent for the Washington Blade, joining us. You've got some outside of D.C., some really scary news coming from the state of Florida around HIV and AIDS treatment. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So Florida, it was announced last week, a week and a half ago, that Florida was going to cut a bunch of people eligible for its AIDS Drug Assistance Program. ADAP is the acronym that they use, specifically changing the eligibility rules. And it was done without rulemaking procedures that traditionally happen when a state agency like the Florida Department of Health. Normally, when you change, who's eligible, it's got to either go through the legislative body, or it's got to get approvals by people and has to have time for the public to comment and people to be able to make comments and question why this is being done, who's going to be most impacted. And the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, who is, love them, they are a sponsor of the Blade. They do a bunch of stuff here in DC to make sure that HIV and AIDS coverage is not just for the rich, but for everybody. Filed a lawsuit last week against the Florida Department of Health because of these changes without, the necessary due process that every Floridian and, American is given, or supposed to be given.
I mean, this is a theme, the Administrative Rules Policy Act, because we had 2 school districts and the teachers union here in Minnesota also filing a lawsuit today on those very claims of, related to protecting schools. They just axed a policy on their own without following this. I mean, this just to be the MO of the Trump administration, to just basically say, we don't have to follow the law anymore. We just make the rules and we don't have to tell anybody changing them.
Yeah, actually, I know that a lot of these have been hinted at or seem to be coming from federal government. This one, though, there's been no proof or instance that the Trump administration has impacted this at all. The people I talked to, the advocates, all were very adamant, who traditionally work with a little bit more Democratic politicians. they were very adamant that this was a state decision and not impacted by federal funding cuts or by federal decision making at all, which did strike me as a little odd, because I have seen other instances where states have been pressured by the administration to change things. But this, oddly enough, not coming from the White House.
See, I just made an assumption there, given that they cut $800 million.
Yeah, I did too. The first when I first reported, I've written 2 stories about this. The first one I did allude to the fact that it seemed to be coming from the White House, and I had an advocate very quickly say, like, although a lot of people like to jump to conclusions, as some do, that this is coming from the the Republican Party all the way at the top. This seems to be just the Florida legislature trying to cut costs, and unfortunately, that means 16,000 Floridians are going to lose life-saving HIV medication, both like preventative and to deal with it with the infection.
16,000.
Yeah. They reduced the eligibility from 400 of the poverty level, which was about $62,000, to only 130, which is just people making $20,000 a year, which is very little. But both, especially when the government has the money to fund these kind of things and can protect as many of their citizens as possible, it seems a little just confusing as to why you'd remove these things. As somebody who's had to deal with finding insurance and getting these drugs, I going to the pharmacy and seeing $1,000 per month of PrEP is terrifying, especially what not being paid over $1,000 a month period. That's terrifying to see. And it's either deciding do you buy groceries or do you buy this medication that could prevent you from getting HIV and eventually AIDS? It's really a rock and a hard place.
I wonder if people are going to, there's a point at which economically you can't just up and move somewhere else, but I wonder if people are going to contemplate, boy, if I can't get the medication I need or can't afford to live here based on that, if I'm going to need to go somewhere else, what's your other choice? You can't stay where you can't get medication, it seems like.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the people that are most impacted are, specifically Black and Brown people who are in the poorest areas of the state. So it's really just going to hurt the people who can't do anything about it anyway. It'll just add to more, most of these people also are on state-sponsored healthcare. So it really is just adding more money in the long run to what the state is going to be paying for. Higher transmission rates, higher long-term costs overall is really what's going to come from cutting funding, again, illegally, to these people who really need it. This is not like a flagrant drug that's just, it's life-saving medication. That's really what needs to be emphasized. Yeah.
It is life-saving medication. Yep. And this is something that Republicans don't understand when it comes to healthcare, is that when people don't have health insurance, when they don't have access financially to life-saving medication, we all end up paying for that. The ER costs go up. When people are defaulting on their medical stuff, the hospital systems have to make it up in another way. So it still raises all of our costs. The cruelty is always the point, it feels like, from the GOP when it comes to the queer community and basically every community at this point. Do we know the timeline of their lawsuit? Is there the opportunity for a TRO, a temporary injunction on this, or?
It was just filed last week, so we're still in the very, very early stages of it. They held another press conference yesterday, and just kind of reiterated the facts that we know and where we're going with it. But right now, we're still kind of feeling it out, seeing. I hope that they will do this injunction to just stop stop the release of funding. The 2 double negatives, regardless. Yeah. But you continue making sure that people get this coverage while it's still up for debate. But right now, it's still unsure. Yeah.
Wow. All right, folks, that is all the time that we have for Joe, but you can get a double dose. Head to This News Is So Gay wherever you get your podcast, and you can hear him on a panel with Ken Schneck, who is the editor-in-chief of the Buckeye Flame, Dana Piccoli, who is a reporter with News Is Out, and I guess yours truly as well. Joe, so good to see you. See you back here in a couple weeks.
Yes, please. Thank you.
All right, folks, that is all for us today. Until this time tomorrow, keep it queer, America.
Keep it queer.